Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about Josh Duggar. So you guys know back in December, he was found guilty of receiving and possessing CSAM. He is looking at 20 years in prison. His scheduled date for his sentencing is going to be sometime in April. And his defense team, they recently filed a motion for a new trial and also for an acquittal. So they're shooting their shot. They're like, hey, either can we get an acquittal? Can we possibly get a new trial? I don't think they're going to get either one. I really don't. But now the prosecution that tried this case, they are responding to Josh Duggar wanting a new trial and him wanting to be acquitted. So we're going to go over what they have to say. I've read several articles, but the main one that I'm really going off of is the Ashley Realities Roundup. I will link the full article in the description box below if you guys want to check it out. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it, you guys. So the prosecution of the CSAM trial of Josh Duggar has filed a response to Josh Duggar's legal team's request for an acquittal or a new trial. So while Josh was found guilty back in December of possessing and receiving CSAM, his attorneys, they are arguing that there's no evidence that Josh personally viewed the illegal content. So obviously, that's the one thing that we can't say he absolutely positively did. We know there's proof that it was downloaded, that the contents of those videos and pictures were on his computer at the car dealership. That's all proven. The one thing that we can't say for absolutely positively certain, because we don't have him on camera while viewing it, is that he wasn't the one that watched it. But the prosecution, they're basically saying that don't even matter. So according to court documents, prosecutors believe that the evidence that Josh Duggar is guilty is clear and overwhelming. They're like, we think we proved our case. We think that the evidence that Josh received and possessed the CSAM is clear and overwhelming. Now, regarding Josh's argument that he was not the one that viewed the CSAM or he never viewed the CSAM, the prosecutors are saying it doesn't matter. He's still guilty. The court documents read in their response, the government did not need to prove any evidence that he personally viewed the material to convict him of receiving and possessing CP. It only had to prove that he knew the material was of minors engaging in sexually explicit conduct, which makes sense, right? So he was charged with receiving and possessing CSAM. They did not charge him with viewing it, so they didn't have to prove that he actually viewed it. They just had to prove that it was downloaded on his computer and he had some knowledge of what the contents of the videos or the pictures were, that it was minors engaging in sexually explicit conduct, which is what I think they did. And they even say that as well, because some of the videos and the photos that were downloaded to Josh's computers, these videos and photos had thumbnails. Just like when you guys go to YouTube and you're looking for a video, you're going to see a thumbnail that's going to give it's going to give you an idea of what the video is about. Same thing with Josh's computer. When he downloaded this content, it showed him a thumbnail. And all of these thumbnails, from what's been reported, showed children engaging in sexual acts. So even if he didn't click on it and watch it not one time, he knew that the contents of those videos was children under the age of 18, some as young as 12, 11 and 12. Just by looking at those thumbnails, you can tell that you're looking at a child, and the child was engaging in sex acts. So even if he's trying to say he didn't watch it, he knew what it was, and that's what he was charged with, and I think they proved their case. Now, the prosecution backed this claim up with the fact that Michelle Bush was Josh's expert witness at the trial. She also was able to prove that the CSAM was downloaded to the password-protected Linux partition on his computer using 2 programs, both of which Josh knew were on his computer. So not only did the prosecution prove that the material was downloaded to a side of the computer that was almost like a secret, right? It was a separate side of the computer that was password protected, but Josh admitted that he knew it was there. Josh admitted that he was the one that downloaded this software. So not only the prosecution say that, but also Josh's own expert witness says, yes, this is where the CSAM was downloaded. So now, when you take the whole viewing of it out, because that's what the defense is trying to say. Well, you guys never proved that Josh actually watched this. You guys just proved that he downloaded it, or someone downloaded it. You guys only proved that someone downloaded it to his computer and that it was there. And the prosecution is like, exactly. We charged him with receiving and possessing CP. We didn't charge him with viewing it because that's going to be a lot harder. And I don't even know if that's possible, but what they charged him with is the only thing that I think could really be possible. It's his computer. It's in his building, at his business, under a Linux partition, which he downloaded himself, that's password protected by a password that's associated with all of his other accounts. So who does it look like downloaded this material? And even if he never watched 1 second of it, just by the thumbnails, he knew what type of video this was. He knew that there were children in these videos. And I think their response to this, I think it's a great response, because they're saying, listen, we didn't need to prove that he watched it. You guys want us to prove that he watched it? That's not what we needed to prove. We charged him with receiving and possessing, and that's what we did. Also, in their response, they said, there can be no doubt, let alone a reasonable one, that the defendant knew the visual depictions he received and possessed were of minors engaging in sexually explicit content. So they're saying there's no way he didn't know. He saw the thumbnails. He saw it was children. He saw what they were doing. He knew what it was. Now, Josh's team, not only are they saying, well, you can't prove that he ever watched it, but they're also trying to throw the blame off on someone else. So they're basically going to try to say that a former Duggar family friend, someone by the name of Caleb Williams, had access to the computer at this car lot, that he was an employee at the time, but the government, they actually said that he was out of state when the crime was committed. When the videos were downloaded, when the pictures were downloaded, Caleb Williams was not even in the state of Arkansas. Prosecutors also claim that the former employee, Caleb Williams, could have been called to the stand at Josh Duggar's trial back in December. However, Josh's legal team chose not to bring him into the trial. So why not? If Josh knew this whole time, hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, Josh is innocent. And he's like, well, it wasn't me, and there was only one other person that was around at that time, or say there was two people that was around at that time. I want them both called in. Defense team, I need both of those people called in. I want you guys to put them up on the stand, ask them the questions, see if they're going to lie on their oath, because it was one of them. It was not me. But when given the opportunity to bring someone else up on the stand to ask them the questions, they didn't. They did not call Caleb Williams up. They knew, just like the prosecution knew, that he was not even in the state of Arkansas when the material was downloaded. But once again, that's part of their defense in this new trial, is that it was Caleb Williams. The documents went on to state his own expert largely agreed with the government's explanation of the facts, and when given the chance to rebut evidence placing the defendant at the computer, conceded that she could not. Further, when given the chance to substantiate his speculative defense with other witnesses, the defendant instead rested his case. The court should deny the defendant's motion in its entirety. So they're basically saying that Josh's own expert agreed with the government's explanation of the facts, and when the expert was on the stand and given the opportunity to rebut some of these facts, they didn't. Some of them they even went along with. Like, one thing was the remote access. They asked, could it be possible for someone to remote access a computer and download a video? Why, sure, yes, it could be possible. But then when pressed to say, okay, well, it was downloaded on this software and it would have been played using this video player. Well, then we find out, okay, with that particular video player, someone would have had to physically be there in person to hit play. So while, yes, in some circumstances, videos could potentially be downloaded remotely. The way Josh's computer was set up and with the software that was playing these videos, you actually had to be there to hit play. And that was something that, you know, when his experts were on the stand, they tried to pass it off as that. Can you remote access, download videos? Yes, you can. But when pressed even further with the software, then they had to turn around to say, well, with that software, someone has to physically be there. So they even helped the prosecution in a lot of ways. They even said, like, yes, it was downloaded to the Linux partition. A lot of the explanation of the facts, Josh Duggar's experts agreed with the prosecution. So I agree. The prosecution, they're saying the court should have denied the defendant's motion in its entirety. I agree. I don't think any of this makes sense for them to say, well, you guys didn't prove that Josh even viewed it. Well, they didn't have to. All they needed to prove was that he received it and he was in possession of it in his computer. He was in possession of this filthiness of children being abused. And while maybe he could say, well, he never pressed play, the thumbnail showed what the videos were about, what they consisted of. So he knew right then that he was in possession of a video containing children being forced to commit sexual acts with other children. He knew it right then. He broke the law. And then for them to try to say, well, it was someone else, it was Caleb Williams, that don't make sense either, because we already know he was out of town, and we already know with the software that he was using, that Josh Duggar's computer was using to play the videos, you actually had to be there in person to hit play. So that's the prosecution's response, you guys. They're like, listen, we think that we proved our case already. We think that the evidence is clear. We think that it's overwhelming. We do not think that the court should retry this case. We don't think that they should get a new trial. We don't think he should be acquitted. I don't think it's going to happen. What do you guys think? I think their response was clear. I think the response was straight to the point. I think it pointed out all the facts that they needed to point out for the judge to really look at this and say, okay, that makes sense. I don't think they need a new trial. I'm not for sure when we will know if the judge will grant him a new trial. I don't see anything here, you know, to say that the judge will make a ruling by a specific date, but I will be keeping my eyes out on anything Josh Duggar related to see when something comes out. If the judge makes a decision, as soon as I know, you guys will know. Josh Duggar faces 20 years in prison for his crimes. He is set to be sentenced in April, and when that happens as well, I will be sure to hop on here and let you guys know what his sentencing will be. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you guys think Josh stands a chance at a new trial or an acquittal? Leave me your thoughts. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button down below. I'm trying to get to 60,000 subscribers. Also, don't forget to go give this video a thumbs up right now. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.